Well, in the short term, Bitcoin needs to mature and solve major scaling issues. A proven bank analyst is still predicting that the price per Bitcoin will hit $100,000 within the next 10 years. Is Bitcoin just a fad, or will Bitcoin emerge as the most critical form of money for the entire future world? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, we're Minting Coins. So, not a day goes by when there's some major news coming out and someone's saying something where it's really lifting up the entire world and all the world is talking about it. And no, I'm not just talking about Covfefe. I'm also talking about Bitcoin. So for those who weren't paying attention, President Trump was tweeting some interesting stuff. And interesting stuff, by interesting stuff, I mean he was tweeting words that didn't exist. And the entire world is just fascinated by this. And a lot of people are using this word and using it as a buzz term. And, you know, people love buzz terms. And one of my favorite buzz terms is, you know, Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Not that you could have guessed that. So in the news, what we're seeing today are a lot of things. There's a lot of things coming out from the news. And what we're seeing is another proven bank analyst talking about Bitcoin and blockchain technologies, cryptocurrencies, and how they're going to increase in value. So the number behind this analyst prediction is $100,000 per Bitcoin. And I really don't see this person as taking a huge leap into risk and taking a chance with calling $100,000 Bitcoin price. Not after, you know, we hear other prominent investors and leaders and analysts talking about $1 million Bitcoin or a $500,000 Bitcoin. You know, so what's interesting though is to see the analysis and understand the foundational blocks of how and why Bitcoin can reach $100,000 per Bitcoin. Because if it's all hype and if it's just people buying Bitcoin for the sake of buying Bitcoin and there's no actual purpose or utility or function, then it's just a bubble, it's just hype, and that's not somewhere where you wanna place your money. It's important that, you know, value has application, and you know, if there's only so many tulips in the world and you have the last tulip in the world, then that tulip is extremely valuable. But if all of a sudden everybody has tulips, then those tulips aren't valuable. So the analogy there is to say we need to understand how tulips are created, how they're valued, how are they used, and that can help us understand the pathway for Bitcoin either increasing in value or decreasing in value. So with that, let's not delay any longer. Let's pop over into the market, take a peek at the news, and let's discuss. So looking over at CoinMarketCap real quick, we see Bitcoin up a couple points, 1.8%. We are at almost $2,300 a coin. The Ethereum market cap is just exploding. And I can't believe that less than 10 Ethereum now equal 1 Bitcoin. And while that's interesting, I just want to caution everybody, I'm a big fan of Ethereum. I love Ethereum. But Ethereum is not limited. Ethereum has some baggage associated with it, and the fact that they were able to change their own blockchain and they were able to split based on the will of the investors of Ethereum. And Bitcoin is limited. Even if Bitcoin splits and becomes two Bitcoins, one of those Bitcoins will become the dominant Bitcoin, and there's still only going to be 21 million of those Bitcoins. And even if Bitcoin, the dominant version of the future Bitcoin, has really high transaction fees, it's still going to be limited to 21 million, and people will still use it as a store of value, even if the most horrible outcome happens, and Bitcoin can't be used as digital cash for microtransactions for the world. And so let's talk about that a little bit more. And so here's an article from Cointelegraph.com from some information that came out of CNBC, and really interesting. Here's the Covfefe word, and for some reason they threw it in the article, maybe just for SEO value, search engine optimization value, getting this article to rank because everyone's searching this word in the news. Not sure. So in this article we have Van-Petersen, who's an analyst at Saxo Bank, and he told CNBC that the price of Bitcoin could hit $100,000 within the next 10 years. And that in order for the cryptocurrency market to surpass trading volumes of major stock markets, we need Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market overall to surpass $1 trillion in market cap. So where are we right now with the market cap? We are at less than a tenth. We're at 8% of 8%. Yeah, 10% would be $100,000. So we're at 8% of where this analyst is saying that we should be for the entire cryptocurrency space, not just Bitcoin. So we need the cryptocurrency to pass $1 trillion market cap, and he stated that Bitcoin alone will most likely achieve $1 trillion market cap. Bitcoin alone, he's predicting, will achieve $1 trillion market cap. This guy who's an analyst at a bank. And he's been proven right about other predictions in the past before. So he's not just coming out of nowhere and saying this. He's been watching the market. He's been watching Bitcoin. He's been right before in the past. And so his analysis does hold a little more weight since he has a history of being correct. So more to that, Van-Petersen predicted that the daily trading volume of the cryptocurrency market to account for at least 10% of the average daily volumes of fiat currency trades, which is $500 billion in trading volume. So the daily trading volume of the cryptocurrency market, he's predicting to be at least $50 billion a day. And if $50 billion a day seems like a lot of money to you, for the majority of the people whose job it is to trade stocks on the stock market and all these other financial instruments, they're not interested in trading cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin because $10 million or $100 million isn't really a lot of money in terms of the volume that they're looking to trade with, the mass numbers to do buy and sells in order for them to make the margins that they're used to making. So $50 billion a day is what he's expecting this trading volume to get to, which is a lot. It's quite significant. And so currently the daily trading volume of the cryptocurrency market is around 4.3 billion, and so that's gonna he's predicting it's gonna increase quite a bit, and that for it to surpass 10% of the daily volumes for the fiat currency trades, it needs to increase by a factor of 100. Huge, which is about what we set up here, 50 billion, which is 10% of the 500 billion. So this is actually going to increase by more than 100 if we were to surpass that 10% mark, right? And so this is saying 100 is a little conservative based on how he's getting to that number. But considering the exponential growth of Bitcoin over the past 10 years, hasn't been around for 10 years, and considering the exponential growth of Bitcoin over the past year and the increasing political climate and world climate, and with the number of major countries that are experiencing rapid inflation and are turning to cryptocurrencies that they can trust that aren't controlled by central authorities, we can see how that can happen. And so Van-Petersen is quoted here in CNBC saying, "This is not a fad. Cryptocurrencies are here to stay. There will emerge 2 or 3 major ones. Bitcoin will be one of those. And the reason is the first mover advantage, the scale, and the pioneering." And so if everybody has the idea to start a brand new company, and if everyone has the idea, to start like a car company, whichever company starts first has an advantage over the other companies. The other companies can still succeed, but in computer science, when this technology is exponential, and in the world when the penetration of the Bitcoin blockchain has reached so many people, and the buzzword Bitcoin is just penetrated so many people, English speakers and not, that it just has a first mover advantage of just being so large. That's what's going on in the Uber and the Lyft space. So if you've ever heard of Uber or Lyft, it's an app on your phone. You can use it to call like a car to your house, essentially an independent taxi driver who's not a taxi, and they're both in and about the same time. I think maybe Uber was a little bit earlier, and so they have a little bit more of an advantage, and they have all these additional investors that want Uber to win. And so if a third company comes in to start this ride sharing service, then because Uber has so many more drivers, Lyft has so many more drivers, it would be hard for a third company to come in and to have enough drivers and for people to want to use that company over these other apps of which they already know, like, and trust. And so Van-Petersen emphasizes to all that point that Bitcoin is being used as a digital currency in remote parts of the world that don't even have electricity. And I hear Andreas Antonopoulos talking in some of his talks on YouTube about how there's remote parts of South America, villages that don't have electricity, but they have solar-powered hand generators that power their smartphones. And so there's all sorts of people in all sorts of the world that know Bitcoin. And not only that, but then we have countries like Venezuela, and Bitcoin is a lifeline for those citizens of that nation inside those borders who are struggling to live, who are struggling to feed their families because of the major economic turmoil that's overtaking that country. And we see that country making laws and regulations and using police and courts and the government to stop Bitcoin everywhere and anywhere that they can, because if the currency is already doing so bad in Venezuela that they want people, they want you to use that their form of money, their fiat currency. And if everyone stops using that fiat currency and they start using Bitcoin, then the value of the government's money will decrease even further. And if the government loses the money, they lose the power and the control, and it's just turned the country there into chaos. And so even though Bitcoin is illegal and difficult to obtain in Venezuela, if you have it, then you're fortunate enough to be feeding your family and surviving. And so this is being recognized. This is real life. And so if you're in America and you have no problem going to the store and spending $20 on getting some items, or $100 to feed your family for a day or two, then that's great. But in other parts of the world, it's difficult to get a loaf of bread. Major countries in Europe, right, in Germany and Poland and all around, it's within my lifetime that it was difficult for someone to go get a loaf of bread. And I think it's always important to look at the history in order to make determinations about the future, because we want to not get lost in hype. We want to not get lost in just the hope and just the inspiration. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not lost in the fear or the uncertainty or the doubt. And so So it's really important that we have facts about the current situation and an understanding about the past and what's happened in our past. So leading economies such as Japan are also rapidly adopting Bitcoin. And so on one hand, you have major places where the countries are falling apart, and so everyone's scrambling to get Bitcoin. And on the other hand, you have countries where everything's great, and those countries are scrambling to get their people Bitcoin. And so it's really, really interesting to see that dynamic, to see that dichotomy about how in both cases that people want Bitcoin, but when the country's doing well, they're encouraging the more Bitcoin to come in, and when the country's not doing well, then they're preventing that Bitcoin to come in. I think that a lot of people are trying to get ahead of the game before their country makes a decision one way or the other about how they're going to treat Bitcoin and how much control they're going to put over cryptocurrency in general for where they live. So he goes on to quote, Van-Petersen goes on to quote the bank analyst, volumes are going up, volatility is going down. A lot of people talk about the volatility, but if you're in Zimbabwe or Venezuela, the volatility is nothing. And so this is an interesting thing to me, he says. He goes on to say, I think in the West, a lot of people view it as speculative, but emerging markets will get it. Their needs will be different. And so, again, this is just what I was saying before, where if you're in the West, you think this is just a speculation, you think this might be a penny stock, this might not make a lot of sense because it's digital and you can't easily access it, and there's all this craziness with private keys. But in other places of the world where what they have isn't working, Bitcoin is filling in that need, that adoption is growing, and this analyst is thinking that's going to lead to essentially the market cap increasing. So then traditional major bank investors and traders can then trade on that, major volume of all these fiat currencies from all over the world coming into the Bitcoin. So ultimately, Van-Petersen is seeing the market cap of Bitcoin rising to 1.75 trillion in the next 10 years. I think that's higher than what we were saying before. And for this to happen, Bitcoin needs to mature as a technology, solve scaling issues, in order to become a digital currency and cash system. So Bitcoin is supposed to be digital currency and digital cash. It's not. It's very difficult for users of Bitcoin, actual, people who are taking all their money and putting all their money into Bitcoin and then trying to live their life with cryptocurrency. It's extremely expensive, relatively speaking, for them to use Bitcoin to make these transactions. Anyone involved in Bitcoin, doesn't matter if you're a miner or a trader or just someone who's using Bitcoin, or so many different people who have a stake in Bitcoin, for Bitcoin to increase in volume and transactions and usage, and for it to maintain an extreme dominance over the world, so it's a clear number one and not just one of the top three coins, is for Bitcoin to become a digital cash. And for Bitcoin to become a digital cash, we need the payments to become faster, and we need the fees to become smaller, so it's easier for someone in Nigeria to purchase a cup of coffee from whatever local coffee shop they have in Nigeria. If you know any coffee shops in Nigeria, comment below. Because right now what Bitcoin is a safe haven asset and a long-term investment. So I think that forever, what we're going to see is the banks gobbling up Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to become extremely rare. It's going to become extremely prized for the reasons that Van-Petersen is going over in this article. And if things stay the way they are, and Bitcoin stays really expensive and we can't do microtransactions, it's still going to be a place for people to store long-term value, because it's still going to be decentralized, it's still going to be peer-to-peer, it's still going to be difficult for a central body to control. Just the worst case scenario is that the major powers that be will divide and conquer our community, therefore making, 2 Bitcoins and then making all of us a little bit weaker. Just to show you real quick, it's not just in America. We also have India. India could legalize Bitcoin in the near future, as feedback from citizens and businesses appear to be in support of the regulating the virtual currency. That's an understatement. Everyone in India, from previous articles that we've done on this channel, clearly is in support of Bitcoin legalization. Just the major banks and government are uncertain or against it. We'll see what comes of this information. But India's government is asking the public about the virtual currencies to figure out how they want to move forward with it. And there's this one tweet in here. This says 9 out of 10 all internet users will be Indian. When we think about the size of the country and the growing access to technology, and we just see all these different storefronts from Sunny Ray in his tweet of all these different stores in India accepting Bitcoin. And then Russia too. Russia's central bank is writing a new Bitcoin law, and just we've seen in the past that Russia is going back and forth about how they're going to play this, which direction they're going to move this, but they're definitely creating a lot of speculation. And with the speculation and with all the news that they're putting out there from their banks, it's clear that Russia is putting a plan together, figuring out how to exactly implement it, because while one hand Russia is signaling all the signs that they want to have some sort of legalization of Bitcoin in Russia, they still want to maintain whatever level of know your customer and anti-money laundering laws that they can, so they can have that control over their citizens, as every country is seeking control and authority over the citizens that they govern. And unfortunately, what we see is that one of the most effective ways of governing is by using fear, is by dividing people, is by spreading misinformation. And I really appreciate you coming to this channel for you to get information, for you to learn more, for you to share your thoughts with me. I have so many of the viewers out there who are watching and who are commenting and who are emailing us directly and just asking us questions, and it's really helping steer us into what information to bring to you. And so if there's any new information that you're looking for, please comment below, let us know, pound that like button, hit that like button. It's really helpful, it really supports us. And let me know what you think below. Do you think that the $100,000 mark is too low? Do you think it's too high, especially in comparison to the other figures that we've seen? And it's a good questions. What's your do you think it's going to be higher or lower than $100,000? So let's just stick with that, or let me know if you have any questions below. So with that being said, thanks for showing up. We have more videos coming out. I'm going to be checking the news, checking with some of my sources, and seeing what the major announcements are for the day. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. I'm glad together we're minting coins.